From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where I've been making the most of some autumn sunshine. This time of year it's been very mild, alongside really getting into the T20 World Cup, the men's T20 World Cup. It's one of my favourite tournaments, absolutely. So it's been really great just watching the early stages, and now as we're getting towards the latter part as well, lots has been going on and we'll get into that in the show.
I can see why there's a smile on your face, Alison. It's Jim Maxwell. I'm up the coast out of Sydney after about 5 months of lockdown and mucking around. And what you see behind me is pretty much how it is every day. Beautiful, near the beach and the rest of it. But England are going well. They must be favourites now to win the T20 after India's humiliation at the hands of Pakistan. And don't forget Australia. All right too, aren't they, Charu?
I hear you, Jim, and good to hear other stories rather than all those lockdown travails. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our first visible Stumped show. I'm Charu Sharma for All India Radio. Glad to be back home in Bangalore after this rain-ruined or storm-ruined trek of ours to the northern Kumaon Himalaya. I'm glad to be back. Of course, it was quite an adventure. And by the way, Vanity won. I had this sort of salt and pepper, heavy trekking beard, but I said, let's take it off. So I took it off. But so much going on in the world of cricket. And yes, Jim, we're also suffering from that first massive defeat. But hey, we'll be back.
You will be back. No beard. I mean, lockdown beards, heavy trekking beards. That's a new one on me. But yeah, I can't wait. I'll hear about that another time. Later on in the show, we are going to be joined by former Zimbabwe captain, England coach, and now consultant with the Afghanistan T20 side, Andy Flower. But let's start with the men's T20 World Cup, because it has certainly lived up to expectations so far. The reigning champions, the West Indies, lost their opening 2 matches. And for the first time ever at a World Cup, Pakistan beat India. Yes, they thrashed their greatest rivals by 10 wickets. And, well, it was a win so big that, I don't know whether you saw it, it reduced, the father of Captain Babar Azam, it reduced him to tears in the stands. Then on Tuesday, Pakistan got their second win in 3 days by beating New Zealand by 5 wickets. And if you remember, Pakistan came into this tournament in the UAE, after the disappointment of both New Zealand and England opting not to tour the country, New Zealand pulling out, England pulling out. Then a lack of preparation, there was administrative and coaching upheaval. But, just how good have they looked to you, Charu and Jim? Charu, can you bring it to say that Pakistan could actually be the team to beat?
Well, without question, isn't it? Well, yeah, I think India's leading contender tag has been seriously dented for sure, and Pakistan have taken that place right now, especially after their second win as well. And if India don't win against New Zealand, they may not make it to the knockout. So this is a really tough one for India at this point of time. There's lots of other good stories as well. Afghanistan, I suppose we'll talk about that later. But obviously they had a point or two to prove, Pakistan. You mentioned some of their troubles. And I do remember a couple of weeks ago suggesting that UAE is their homeland. That's their home pitch. They're perhaps more used to conditions in the UAE than any other team. Has that been a big help to them? Perhaps. But they are playing fabulously, no question about it, in every department of the game.
Have you enjoyed watching them, Jim?
I've been very excited, as ever. I mean, Pakistan have always been the most mercurial team in international cricket. They can play like world beaters and play like novices, paupers sometimes. And that may happen in this tournament. It's the nature of T20 cricket. It only takes 1 or 2 players to have an explosive day, and it can turn the game.
Alison, just very quickly, you mentioned Babar Azam's father, and of course that was a nice emotional high for him. But I do think that that's also a very big difference. Babar Azam has not proven to be Pakistan's strategically or tactically finest skipper, but I think he's brought in a certain sense of calm, of purpose to the team. And as you know, Pakistan's mercurial performances are often related to the fact that the leadership is in disarray. So, a 2-pointer there for Babar Azam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talking of leadership, Charu, I mean, we spoke on the show, didn't we, last week about the importance of this T20 World Cup trophy for Virat Kohli and the outgoing coach Ravi Shastri. Before the tournament began, you would have I think you did probably put India as favourites, didn't you? But have you revised that already, or are you no knee-jerk reaction?
While one injured swallow doesn't make a summer, Alison. So hopefully they continue to do well in the next match or two. That leading contender tag might be back. For the moment, of course, as I said, seriously dented without question. And I wonder how Virat Kohli is taking it, and Ravi Shastri too. Both are, well, Shastri is not going to be the coach anymore. So does he want to go on a real high and G the team up? Or is he saying, well, it doesn't really matter anymore, I'm done and dusted. I do think Kohli's individual reputation will suffer if India do not make even the knockout. So there must be serious concern in the Indian camp right now.
I do want to talk about, what has been the biggest talking point of recent days, which has been around the South African wicketkeeper, Quinton de Kock. Because the match against the West Indies, de Kock made himself unavailable for that game shortly before the start, citing at the time personal reasons. Now, this came after Cricket South Africa had issued a directive some 5 hours before the match, stating that all their players should make the gesture of taking the knee prior to World Cup games in what they've quoted as a united and consistent stance against racism. Since then, Quinton de Kock has issued a statement apologising and saying that he is happy to take the knee. He says, "I know I have an example to set. We were previously told we had the choice to do what we felt we wanted to do. I chose to keep my thoughts to myself and thought of the pride of playing for my family and country." He goes on, "I didn't understand why I had to prove it with a gesture when I live and learn and love people from all walks of life every day." He says, "When you are told what to do with no discussion, I felt like it takes away the meaning. If I was racist, I could easily have taken the knee and lied, which is wrong and doesn't build a better society." He went on to say, this is a lengthy statement, he went on to say that he was shocked that they were, quote, told on the way to an important match that there was an instruction they had to follow with a perceived or else. He says, "I don't think I was the only one. We had camps, we had sessions, we had Zoom meetings. We know where we all stand, and that is together." This was a complex one, wasn't it? It absolutely set social media alight, I guess, because there was a vacuum of silence from Quinton de Kock initially, wasn't there, given that he just didn't play and then nobody heard from him directly. I think it's a good thing that he has set out to explain his side of where he's coming from. Broadly speaking, though, Jim and Charu, it presents this moral dilemma, doesn't it, as to whether gestures should be mandated. The choice to express what you want to express in the way you want to express it. I just wonder what your take, Charu, was on the way things unfolded, first of all.
Well, it was a bit of a shocker. And as you mentioned, the silence didn't help. The clarification has certainly helped. At the World Cup, with that level of visibility, and if the whole team does it together, I think it sends a fabulous message. If you're going to leave it to the individual to show it, it just sort of shows that there might still be differences of opinion, which in this case, there should be none. I mean, it's something that the world of cricket and the world in general needs to completely stamp down.
Yes, it's a shame Nelson Mandela's not still alive. He would have sorted this out in 5 seconds. This is a massive failure on the part of South Africa in terms of how they manage their players. This should never have got to where it is now. Quinton de Kock should have, perhaps had more common sense in view of particularly South Africa's position in regards to racism. They're more under the pump than anyone else when it comes to this issue of bending the knee. But surely the administrators, someone who had the ability to communicate with the players would have said something at the start. Because we saw in their first match, we had fellas taking the knee, other players sort of a bit in between with a pump, and de Kock just standing there with his hands behind his back. Well, this needed to be sorted out before the tournament started. Thank goodness de Kock has had his little mea culpa or whatever and realised that continuing to behave in this way, it would mean that he'd be out of the tournament for sure, but it'll also make South Africa hopefully more unified as they go on.
Right, well, after 8 months without a match, and after all the upheaval of the Taliban's takeover of their country, Afghanistan's men began their T20 World Cup in quite some style. Mujeeb Ur Rahman took 5 wickets for 20 runs in what was his first ever World Cup game, and Rashid Khan took 4 wickets for just 9. Now, former England coach Andy Flower is working with Afghanistan during this World Cup as a consultant, and I'm delighted to say that he is with us on Stumped. How are you doing, Andy? Great to see you.
Ellie, nice to see you too. I am doing fine, thanks. Yeah, and it was a great start.
It was a great result. We'll talk more about the match in itself, but I mean, how do you feel this Afghanistan side shapes up compared to, well, there's not always been that many changes of late, I suppose, but how Afghanistan is faring at this T20 World Cup compared to the previous editions that they've featured in?
The bigger nations will be worried about facing Afghanistan for two main reasons, I think. Number one is the bowling attack is quite dangerous. Centered around their spin bowling lineup primarily, but it also contains medium paces that are quite useful. But also, I think it's because they play the game so aggressively and seemingly fearlessly that when you come up against opponents like that, they are almost scary to take on when someone plays as if they've got nothing to lose. So I think the more established nations understand that, and they'll be treating Afghanistan with a lot of respect when they take them on.
Given your Zimbabwe background and of course the role you played in the famous black armband protest with Henry Alonga back in the 2003 World Cup, do you sort of identify in some ways with the Afghanistan cricketers? Do you see there's some sort of bond almost in that you both come from backgrounds where there has been an element of political unrest and turmoil?
I think it's part of why I was very attracted to them as a team, actually. I saw parallels, if you just ignore some of the political and human rights stuff. I saw parallels with us as a very small cricketing nation in Zimbabwe, and similar situation with Afghanistan. Although we probably had a much longer cricketing history than them. But things happened very quickly once we were given international status in 1992. And things have happened very quickly for Afghanistan, and their administrators and their cricketers and their small coterie of coaches should take a lot of credit for the pace at which they've developed. They've been amazing. And then, yes, I think there's a slight affinity that I feel because of some of the political upheaval that their country's gone through. And from quite a selfish perspective, I suppose, it's quite nice to be part of something that is slightly more than just trying to win a tournament. And I think their cause is something slightly more than just trying to win a tournament. They can do a lot of good and I'm not saying they're going to go in and win every game, but they can do a lot of good back home by the way they carry themselves in this tournament. And they are very well aware of that. And it's nice for me just to play a very, very small part in that from a selfish perspective.
Jim Maxwell, nice to talk to you again, Andy. Just looking ahead, this ICC meeting's coming up next month to discuss the game's future in Afghanistan. Do you have a message or anything you'd like to say about that meeting and the continuation of both men's and women's cricket in Afghanistan?
Decisions taken, for instance, and I've heard this point mooted recently, to perhaps suspend the men's team from international cricket. I think those types of decisions have to be very well thought through and shouldn't be snap decisions. And decisions based on what will be best for world cricket, yes, but also very more specifically what will be best for Afghanistan cricket. And merely assuaging one's conscience is an easy way to make a decision, but might not necessarily be the most practical or useful or best decision to make.
I'd imagine you've had some conversations, despite the language problems, with the players. How do they feel about this tournament after all that's happened in Afghanistan this year?
Well, Jim, they are genuinely excited to be part of another world tournament. They are obviously concerned, like everyone else, about the future and the safety of all citizens of Afghanistan. But those are situations that are out of their power at the moment. And they are very simply representing their country as well as they can. And a big part of that is being able to focus on the cricket. And they do that really well.
Well, Andy, coaching can be often a crown of thorns, but you seem to be in pretty good shape, unscathed, so good for you. You've been around the world and back twice, once as a player, now as a coach. What next?
Well, I hope I haven't completely done the circle yet. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still on that trip around the world for the second time, and really loving it. So, you know, I've enjoyed my involvement in the IPL, Charu, and really enjoyed working with Anil and KL Rahul at Punjab Kings. Obviously, it would be nice at some stage to lead a side, perhaps. In the IPL, and I might go back into international coaching at some stage in the future as well. Now that my kids are older and have left home, I feel less bad about being away for big chunks of the year. So who knows what's around the corner.
Enjoy the rest of the T20 World Cup and the rest of the time with the Afghanistan men's team. Thanks so much for being on Stumped with us.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Charu. Nice to see you.
Well, that's it for this week's Stumped here on All India Radio. Don't forget that you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. My thanks to Charu, Sharma, Jim, Maxwell, and to you all for watching and listening. And we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.